Started here. Okay, guys, we're all been talking about the sweltering heat, and some of you guys may not be suffering it, but many of us are. So, welcome to the final meeting of June. And I don't have many announcements, but I'll just have a few very short ones. I'm going to give you guys a break for July 4th. So our next Zoom meeting won't be until July 10th. I was looking at the schedule, and I think, doing July 3rd, I thought was just not a good idea because a lot of people probably have, holiday plans. So we're going to do July 10th as the next meeting. Otherwise, there isn't much looking way ahead, which you'll get only a announcement on the next meeting anyway, is uh, the first major New England Wireless and Steam Museum event will be on July 20th. The tune-up and the vintage radio swap meet from 9 to 3. And also the following day on July 21st, the flea market at MIT. Another one of those regular every other month or monthly, I suppose, meets at MIT for the ham radio flea market. And I think that's about all the announcements I have to offer here in terms of club-related events. I'm going to hand off to Bob, who might have some other things he wants to share.
Yeah, good evening. I have just a quick announcement. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Um, our web modernization team for the club has been working on a project for, about a year, I'd say. And we have a new website. So you're all the first to know. Plan to get out a public announcement to the club members either tomorrow or Friday. But I wanted to say thanks to the web modernization team, um, John Gibbons, Alan Finger, and Joe Coco. During our development process, we also had a couple of folks do the testing, Larry Sendry and Joe Devonshire, who's here on the call today. So thank you, Joe, and thank you, John.
Oh,
I
my.
know Larry promised to break the new site, but I don't think he did. So it seems to be working fine. The site is nevec.org, and that's the same name we've always had, nevec.org. So I'd encourage you all to take a look at it. We updated the site because our old one was aging. It was written in HTML code, a little bit difficult to update. The new site actually adapts to its format to mobile phones, tablets, and computers. That was a key thing. It's a little easier to update, and hopefully it'll improve communication with our members and make our volunteers work a little bit easier. So thanks to the team, and we appreciate your hard work, and take a look at the site. Thanks. That's all I've got.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Yeah, just to add to it, a couple of just the site is basically has parity in terms of our prior site. In fact, you'll see a lot of look and feel and DNA is there because overall the old site was actually exactly what we needed. And like Bob said, we needed to modernize it. Plus, we can also make it more extensible for the future. One of the things here, I'm just going to do a quick momentary share, just you can see that the front page, the home page. Ta-da! And it basically is going to look and feel the same headers and so forth are going to show up. We're going to be adding, more things in the future. One thing I'll just sort of quickly instruct is that the PayPal is fully integrated to you. So for Fall Brookline, you can buy your tables and also renew your membership. We are going to be exploring, not necessarily changing, but we're going to explore and consider it at least what our payment platform will be. PayPal remains the incumbent and will be for the foreseeable future until we've had the time. But to avoid a lot of investment of time, all the options are buy now buttons. So, in the past, in the prior website, you could, renew your membership and buy a table and put it in your cart and check out with it. This one is going to be, if you buy your membership, you get to buy now. You have to check out with PayPal, and then if you want to go back and order a table, you just have to do a second transaction. It's a trade-off. If we decide at longer term to make PayPal the permanent payment platform, we'll do something a little bit more cart-like, but it probably will require a plug into WordPress because that's our hosting site is WordPress. And so, no, we'll look at those things. But the only feedback I can say, the only ask I have is if you guys are playing on the site and you see a problem, please let me know because there's always a chance something got overlooked, whether it's syntax, grammar, or something's not working right. Those, especially the latter, is the most important thing because we just want to make sure that this site goes smoothly. And thankfully, Joe and Larry spent time beating on it and didn't find any problems. So we're pretty optimistic this thing is pretty solid. But you never know. Just yell out. In fact, on the contact page, there is even a form. If you saw it on the website, you can even send us a message. Go to Bob and me. That will we'll be able to look at the problem and follow up with it. So, at any rate, go play around. I'm not going to dwell on any more, but and thanks, and I thank you goes back to Bob because really, that was one of Bob's initiatives among many things to tackle this because it's something that it's really one of the key things of our club, and so Bob did spend a lot of time helping drive this, doing the research and so forth. So a lot of thanks goes back to Bob as well. So at any rate, I'll leave it at that. Thanks, guys. So the next part is, like I said, in my meeting, the Zoom meeting message was, we're just making a slight adjustment to the meeting where we will do, before we cover the topic, we're going to do, a round robin to give everybody a chance to, share something, and it could be, anything at all. Certainly vintage electronics is preferred, but if you really have no interesting thing to share with us, you're welcome to share your lawn mowing story or whatever. But I'm sure most of us won't fall into that category. But you know what? At this point, but the real goal, it was good, some good feedback, from the other directors that maybe a little more participation, to make sure people are really getting to, in case they're, for lack of a word, but shy or don't want to feel like they're jumping in. We want to make sure it's a little more inclusive. So at any rate, does anyone want to start, or I can start just nominating people?
Oh, I'd be happy to start.
All right, Per, you are on. I'm going to put you on speaker side.
You got a one-barrel carburetor there.
Yes. Are you able to see this?
Yes.
All right. I took this off of my car. Here's a picture of the car.
Oh, is that the Hudson?
That's one of my Hudsons, yeah.
Okay.
1935.
Wow.
That's a front view, and
Oh, nice. It looks like you've had this a while. I mean, I'm seeing a Chevy Chevette, when
that's nice. You recognize your Chevette. I was wondering if anybody would notice that.
Yeah, that's about a 78 Chevette or so.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. One of my relatives had that car at that time.
That's
Anyway,
funny.
yeah, I bought this car when I was 26 years old. So that gives you some idea of how long I've had it.
Wow.
Anyway, I didn't manage to get it out of the garage for inspection last year because it wasn't running quite reliably. So I decided to finally investigate that. So I I soon found that it would run for a short time and then it would stop. And it was because of lack of fuel, even though I had an electric fuel pump pumped up to make sure that it was getting fuel. So I said, it's time to take the carburetor out. And so I took the carburetor out, and here you can see the inlet to the fuel
Okay.
here. You can see where where it's supposed to come out to go to the to go into the float chamber.
Sure.
This being the top of the float chamber. And here's the valve that goes in there. That valve can move up and down a little bit, and it is it is the motion of this that is controlled by this float, which is hinged to go like that. So
Okay.
when the float gets low, I'm holding the thing upside down. When the float gets low, then gas comes in. That causes the float to go up and cut off the supply of gas.
Okay.
So I discovered a bunch of crap in there, which means I have to do a better job with filters from the gas tank. And
Also means you need to move somewhere where you can get ethanol-free gasoline.
well, I figure with a one barrel simple carburetor, I can manage to deal with the existing gas. If I had a 58 Cadillac or something, then it would be seriously necessary, in my mind also, to get that gas. But anyway, when I then investigated things inside the carburetor, I found that this thing here, which is called an accelerator pump, was totally stuck. And the lever pushing on it was spring loaded so that one could still open and close the throttle, even though this didn't move at all. So I said, okay, I've got to do something about that. Well, as you can see, I got it to the point where it can move all by itself now.
Yeah.
And those of you who do a lot of refinishing of cars, of radios, would know that one might make use of 800 sandpaper, 1500 sandpaper, 2000 sandpaper, 3000 sandpaper. So I exercised the cylinder without this being in it at the time, with strips, a strip of each kind, massaging the inside of that cylinder.
Sure.
Until finally I had gone all the way up to the 3000, and now, as you could see, the thing moves smoothly.
Nice.
So I delayed putting it back together so as to be able to use it as my project here, since you announced a couple of days ago that I ought to come with the project.
There you go.
So that's it.
Hey, that's how
I'm inspired. I'm going to take some jet spray gum out to my Stromberg Carlson that I'm working on. Then maybe the inverse will work.
Make sure it's plugged in.
Yeah.
Well, there was also a Stromberg brand of carburetors.
There was. That's why I
Yeah.
picked Stromberg.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Usually you saw those in European cars, Strombergs.
Yes, you're right.
You know, Volvos, things like that. Sure. Well, that's cool, and what I think is really cool, even cooler, is that you've had this Hudson for so long. You know, that's really impressive.
Well, I like the car, and up until the gas crisis, um, my wife and I would drive to visit my parents in New York City, using from Boston using this car.
No way. Yeah, how recently when was the last time you did that trip with that car?
Well, the problem is this car has a relatively small gas tank and a big appetite.
Yeah.
So I would fill up with gas in Boston, drive to Newtown, Connecticut,
Hmm.
eat at the nice Chrome diner there, fill up with gas, go into town to see the parents, stay overnight with them, come back the next day to the Newtown diner, eat again, fill up with gas, and come home. Well, 1973 messed that up because
Yeah.
suddenly no
Yeah.
gas on Sundays.
Yeah. Oh,
So
sure.
fortunately, a friend of mine who likes Citroën cars
Oh,
had
sure.
convinced me to keep one for him. Well, that car has a big gas tank and a small appetite. I could make the whole round trip with no fear of running out of gas. And so that was the end of this Hudson making those trips to New York City.
So that's pretty impressive to be running it that relatively recently in the 70s. What year is that? 35 you said, pair?
35. Yeah.
That's still impressive that a 35-year-old plus car is cruising along, going to New York City on a regular basis. That's pretty good.
Well, so the last time it went, well, then in 1990, it really needed an overhaul of the engine. And I drove it from Boston to Quebec City. Um, and so many of the cylinders were not working at the time that I took the levelest possible route along the main turnpike. But little by little,
Yeah.
the valves started to work again. And by the time I got there, I had got 7 out of the 8 cylinders working. But you know,
That's pretty cool. Straight
I
eight,
had to
obviously.
so I had to install new pistons and new rings and and work on the valves. And that was 1990 that I brought it there. My old friend who lived there had bought a barn and wondered if we had a project that we could do. So this became the project. And when he was ready to sell the barn 5 years later, that's when I went up to get the car. And in fact, this picture was taken in April. As you can see, there was snow on the ground. Um,
Oh, can you raise it up just a little bit? There you go. Oh, yeah, there. Yeah, yeah. I do see snow. I wasn't sure whether it was the exposure, but I appreciate the snow. I can see footprints now.
yeah, and even his guard dog is visible. Fido, his guard dog, was
Yeah.
visible in the picture.
Well, that's pretty cool, Pear. That's pretty darn cool. I'm impressed. Thank you for that.
All right, thank you. Thank you
All
for,
right.
in inviting projects to be.
Yeah, no, I'm glad,
But
that,
I could ask one little piece of advice. I
sure.
would like to make the exterior of this look better. This is a rough casting so that the surface is not smooth, so one can't just sandpaper it and expect it to get it to be very good. Um, any suggestions?
There
Hmm.
is, um, I don't live there anymore, but the last Sunday of the month at New England Dragway in Epping, New Hampshire, there's an early morning flea market, swap meet, and generally speaking, there's a guy who attends that show who does carburetor restorations. And I don't know whether he uses walnut shells or whether he uses chemicals or whatever, but I mean he can make he's got all of the different carburetors that he's recently refurbished on display at his space at that swap meet, and they look
Now,
brand new.
what is that location again?
It's the New England Dragway. It's in Epping, New Hampshire. It's like right off of 101. I think it's exit 8 off of Route 101, and it's the last Sunday of the month, like April through October. And it's,
Oh.
very early in the morning that people are setting up at 5:30 in the morning, and pretty much everybody is gone by 10:30 or 11. But if you get there around 8 or 8:30, spaces are kind of randomly assigned, at the end of each month. So he's not necessarily in the same space. So you'll have to kind of walk up and down the rows until you see him. Can't remember the name. I used to have a card from him, but I couldn't put my fingers on it right now because I don't need it anymore because I don't live there anymore. But he does very
Well,
good work.
thank you for that. I will make a trip up there.
Yep.
Great. Well, since you were last talking, Noah, what's going on?
Well, yeah, I know. I was slightly ill prepared for this. I would have, I would have done a better job, but my wife and I last week spent a number of days up in the Texas Panhandle because at this time of year, each year, there is a festival and celebration of Route 66
Oh, sure.
because there's still 167 miles of Route 66 that goes across the Texas Panhandle. And about 90% of the original road is still there, along with a fair number of the goofy attractions and things that are along the way.
Mm,
The world's largest branding iron and the Second Amendment cowboy and
mm.
the Leaning Tower in Shamrock or whatever the town is. And so different museums along the way. And so we stopped at a few of these places, and I would have taken a lot more pictures of all the old radios that I looked at if I was thinking ahead to this evening's presentation. But one of the places we went to in Amarillo, I had people here will know what it is. I didn't take a picture of it and I didn't buy it, but it's a Jewel,
Mm,
Jewel, the little Jewel, like
sure.
portable radio with really nice little leather case. And I was like, okay, it runs on batteries that I can't get anymore. And
Mm.
it's like, what am I going to buy this for? It looks kind of cute on the shelf, but I looked at a number of consoles and some were good and some were less than good. I want to see, I have been disabled from screen sharing. I was going to share a
Oh,
picture.
oh, hold on. My error. I didn't enable it at the beginning of the meeting. You are good to go, Noah.
All right, see if I remember how to do this. If I click on that and hit share. So, I don't know if that's showing up at this point in time.
It's starting. It says you have started screen sharing.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh,
Some of the things that I saw, like this Motorola, and it was sitting on a shelf next to this RCA. They could probably both use some of Greg's handiwork
Yeah.
to bring them back. They're a little bit on the tough side, but
Mm,
these were in a museum on a shelf, so it wasn't like it was even like an antique or collectibles,
sure.
thrift shop kind of thing. These were just there as like part of the museum as representative as to like what people had. I also came across this
Oh,
1953 Model E jukebox. Now I have a 1955 Model G. It's 2 years newer than this one, but it has the same mechanism inside. The records are stationary in a rack in the back, and then the little turntable moves back and forth to get in front of the record that you've selected. And this was in a diner, a 50s style diner that was along the Mother Road. And so it was a great time. There was old electronics to look at, old cars, of course, to look at, and old Conoco neon gas stations, and like I said, other bizarre attractions along the way. The Museum of Barbed Wire,
the Museum of Barbed Wire.
yeah, which it was actually fantastic. It looked like it was a very small building from the front, and then you walk in, and it was this huge warehouse type, factory that it had all this. The tools were amazing. You start to think about how much, what it goes into trying to like run a barbed wire fence for, around 1,000-acre ranch or something, and how do you go about doing that? And so
Sure.
they had machines that did that and twisted the wire and made fancier barbed wire. And then the thing that totally escaped my memory was there was an entire section in the museum that was all about uh, World War One, World War Two, with all the concertina wire and all
Oh,
all
sure.
the military uses of barbed wire. And so it actually turned out to be pretty fascinating. We kind of thought we were, oh, okay, let's go, like we're gonna stop and see like the largest ball of string or some silly thing like that. And it was actually very educational. So it was a great trip.
Oh,
And
cool.
I looked at a lot of radios and I held a few radios, but it was the classic. I owned it for 30 to 45 seconds and then I put it back down and walked away without without buying
Wow.
anything. So I didn't drag anything home, but I did look at a lot of cool stuff. But I only took a few pictures of it along the way because I wasn't thinking ahead to this meeting. Otherwise, it might have turned into another one of those 10 o'clock marathons or something.
Oh, wow.
I,
That's all
I
right.
did see I did see quite a few radios, more than I really thought that I would. But those are the ones that I was able to go back and find the pictures of.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, I'd love to do that, actually, that similar trip like that, because that's always on my sort of my bucket list. So I'd
Yeah.
love to go see Route 66, that especially the classic areas, as kitschy as it may be.
Yep.
You know, it's still part of the Americana.
I have, let's see, if I stop the sharing, one of the places we went to was very well known for its pies at the diner. And so like if you really enjoyed your pie,
Got
they would
pie
give you this
face.
little sticker that says I got pie faced at at this particular diner. So
Midpoint Cafe.
the Midpoint Cafe, because it is the midpoint between Chicago and Los Angeles. The actual exact midpoint of Route 66 is in Texas. And
And what better
I
way
don't know
to
what more
experience the
you
midpoint is to have a
Yep.
piece of pie.
So I had a piece of pie and a bowl of chili at the Midpoint Cafe.
Wow, that's a combination.
Oh yeah, it was good. It was a whiskey pecan pie.
Whiskey
Ooh,
pecan.
Yep,
Wow.
which went
Sounds
down
pretty good.
with a little dollop of vanilla ice
Ice
cream on
cream.
top. It went
almost.
very well after the
Ooh,
bowl of chili.
that sounded pretty good. That sounded pretty good. Well, sound like a place well worth visiting. If I ever find myself out there, I'll be sure to reach out to you to confirm all
Yep,
these details.
absolutely.
Oh, well, thanks, Noah. Um, hey, Rob,
Yeah,
you did a great presentation on the fabbing that 3D printer Radioless 60 tuning drum. So how things going out there with that?
well, I'm starting on the cabinet, but that's not what project I brought. Remember a few months ago, there was a lot of emails going around about AM transmitters and buying them out of China and all that. Well,
Yep.
that would be easy and that would be cheap. I don't do that. I prefer spending money and making it very complex. So that's kind of what I've been working on, but it's been sidelined for a few weeks already. But if you give me the share, then
Yeah,
I'll
you're good to go.
show you. Oh, hold on, I have to do something, don't I?
Yeah, you just have to grab in the middle part of your
Find the little
window.
green button that
Yeah,
says
it's
share
Yeah,
screen.
share. There we go. All right, what the heck am I looking at here? There we go. All right, now I started out with this is the way it looks like right now, the breadboard, literally breadboard. And
oh, cool.
that's just where we're starting from.
Mhm.
How do I do this? Oh, here we go. Okay,
I think
but
it looks great just like that.
so I put not final schematic on everything because it's still in process. But overall, this is the audio amplifier section. 300 millivolt input, and I can get like 56 and more volts out. So there's an audio section. There's an oscillator. It's Colpitts oscillator. It goes into a 6SK7 kind of a mixer output. And this was my first attempt at kind of a tuned antenna system And that needs improvement. And of course, the power supply. So there's the amplifier, audio. This works pretty good, but I'm not sure about the bandwidth. And what I read was that in 1960, the bandwidth of AM radios went from 15 kilohertz to 10 kilohertz. So I want to make sure I get a good 15 kilohertz out of this thing, so the old radios sound like they should.
Gosh.
Yeah, so this does pretty well. I mean, I got the 300 millivolts peak to peak from a line output on my cassette player, and then what I would do is I put in a 300 millivolt peak to peak 1 kilohertz, and then you tweak the modulation adjust. And look, I was looking at the output signal, and you just look for 100% modulation, you know, and that's how I set that. This
Now-
is.
Sorry, go ahead, Rob. I'll ask. I'll let you go, and I'll ask later.
Oh, okay. Well, this is the Colpitts. It's probably the final schematic. Well, no, it isn't either, because trying to get the resonant circuit at the low end of the AM band and have it tunable to the, it wasn't too easy. That's why I had this extra capacitors in here. The resonance is this inductor parallel to these series capacitors. So I'm tweaking around. It works pretty well at 600 kilohertz, but it goes up to about a meg, not much higher, which works for me. But, well, anyways, I'd like to come up with some values where I could go from 550 to 1600. And so I'll probably tweak that still too.
Ah, I see. So this
Yeah.
is variable. This is variable.
Yeah.
I
So
got
this
it.
these are the variables.
So
And well, with the Colpitts, you want this capacitance to be higher than this one. I just did some reading on the Colpitts oscillator design, and so with this extra 100 picofarads here, they say it should be like the lower one should be about 10% of the upper one, but that's not true. It can be a little bit closer. So that's all that does, and this is the feedback loop, you know, and it kicks out a nice clean signal.
How stable is the VFO?
Beats me. Not that far. Well, Colpitts is supposed to be pretty stable. That was another reason I picked it.
Okay,
But no, I can't. I don't know that yet.
that's very interesting because like what SS Tran does, it uses dip switches to set the frequency, and just locks it in for you.
Yeah, well, that's all modern.
That's all right. This is the first time I've seen anyone making a homebrew, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. Piece at a time. Had to look into Colpitts oscillators a little bit more, but different. Trying to design one than to just read on how they're functioning. So there was a lot of trial and error. The output is a 6SK7 because I did read on one thing where you can modulate the screen grid. So the audio comes into the screen grid, the RF comes into the control grid, and this is just an RF choke to give it power, and it goes to the output to the antenna, and it works pretty well. The only thing I've had to do is, I guess my schematic's a little bit out of date, is I did put a pot to the output of the oscillator, because if you overdrive the tube, you set it for 600 kilohertz, you overdrive it, and it's booming at 1200. So I just put a pot in there, set it at 600, tune the radio, the F working, go up to 1200, and it's there too. You turn the pot down until that goes away. And I figured now it's not overdriven. So that's still tweaking to do. But this is just the power supply.
You haven't
Pardon?
been visited by the FCC yet?
Yeah.
No, but I did get on the ham antennas group and start asking questions about it, and the power output of this thing is going to be so low. It was many people's opinions of don't worry about it, and with the output circuit I have now, I mean it's booming close by, for 20, 30 feet. But by the time I get to the other end of the house, it's already faded away. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is just the power supply. It's pretty straightforward.
Rob, just wait until openings to use it.
Wait until what?
Band openings.
Yeah, well, you just gotta find a spot that's less noisy. Anyways, this was my first antenna thing. I had a 5-foot whip and I figured out an inductance and this does tune. But one of the guys on the ham antennas group did an analysis and he said, your SWR is about infinite. He said,
Yeah.
yeah, he said, I wouldn't worry about radiating anywhere. So this needs this needs work, but I'll get there.
That's
That's
pretty
You
cool.
know
fun.
you know how to get above a megahertz now. All you have to do is go over there and just broadcast on the second harmonic. You know.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, anyways, close-ups. This is the oscillator capacitor. That's a 6S4. There's the audio pot, 6SN7, 2 stages, and the 6SK6. So that's about it.
That's fun though. That's really cool. That, you
Oh,
know,
it's been a blast.
Oh, I like the miniature tube, the way the mounting on that.
Yeah, I know. I found that. I don't even remember where I got that socket, but I found it in my junk box, and I go, "Hey, that's perfect." You know, if I wanted to, I could screw it down to the wood, but yeah,
right.
That's a real experimenter's job.
Agreed.
that's glory. Huh?
That's fun. That's your true experiment. I like it. Nice job there, Rob.
Oh, thanks. All right. So now, do I do anything, or do you stop to share?
I can do that for you. You can do it yourself, right? I did it.
Here we
just
go.
for you.
Cool.
Oh, prom. That was great.
Cool. It's fun.
So
Like
let's
I
see.
said, other people do it cheap and easy. Nah, we don't want to do that.
Well, yeah, but I guess it's a great learning experience. You
Yeah,
know,
that's true.
I mean, admittedly, I have the already pre-manufactured and pre-built SS trans, so I've learned nothing other than how to play with it and how to set the frequency. So, you know, but I do like what it does.
Good.
But so let's see here. Hey, Steve, what's going on?
Hey, well, I got something to share.
Great.
Let me get there. It's going to take
No
a
problem.
few minutes.
Sure, no problem. Take your time.
Ah. All right. There we go.
All right.
All right. So the maroon thing there in the middle. It's a project that I've been working on off and on for, I don't know, maybe a year and a half now. It's a high voltage constant current supply. It's goes with the 2000 volt 10 milliamp power supply. It's just above it.
Hmm.
And it's really got two purposes. One of which is just for measuring insulation resistance of high voltage non-electrolytic capacitors. And the second is for electrolytic capacitors. There's a fellow on the Antique Radio Forum has talked at various times to describe something he calls the excess electrolyte test. So if you've got and so I'm obviously restoring a lot of antique test equipment, and the capacitors in that stuff is a lot higher quality than what you get in consumer gear. And often there are quite a lot of them. So, if you can reuse them, if they're still good, and oftentimes they are, then it's, you know, very much more pleasant to leave them in place rather than having to restuff every single thing.
Sure.
Um, so the problem is, you know, how do you know if they're still good? So Chris 108 on the Antique Radio Forum describes this test where you, if a capacitor's been out of service for 6 months or a year or longer, you can determine whether it has, you know, whether it's dried up or whether it has electrolyte by, you know, an excess of electrolyte, so it's got a chance of having some life left. By reforming it to half the voltage, limiting the current to around 2 milliamps. And then, you know, if it reforms at half its rated voltage, so you get the, you know, the current down to, you know, whatever, a few hundred microamps or so, then you can determine whether there is, you know, whether it's still pretty wet inside by then bumping it up to full rated voltage and seeing how quickly it reforms to, you know, for the leakage current to go back down to, you know, a few hundred microamps. So if it happens fairly promptly, you know, then it's got a fair amount of excess electrolyte in it still, so you can expect it to still have some life. If it takes a good long time, or it overheats, or it won't reform to, you know, low voltage, then you're kind of out of luck, and then you know to redo it. All right, so this thing's got to take 2 kilovolts, and then you know, limit it down to you know, a few hundred microamps under control. So let's see. So there's the thing out of the rack. And the backside, it's kind of grew over time, so it's kind of an assemblage of multiple boxes, and the thing on the rear is a shield for the MOSFET power transistors. The heat sinks have got the full 2 kilovolts on them, so I wanted to make sure I didn't bump into them when I was mucking with it. So a close-up view. Let me just go over on the right's the distribution for the high voltage. So I can run it direct from the power supply by taking the, you know, setting the source to the HV position, or I can put it through the constant current stuff by shifting it over that way. If it's off, it's got a 5 kilo ohm 10 watt resistor across the terminals to discharge whatever I got connected to it. I can also bypass the metering with that MHV connector all the way on the right. The thing looks like a BNC. Then on the left is the constant current control. So it also controls the metering range on that 50 microamp Simpson meter there, just to the right. So infinite range is, you know, when you start out, if you make an oops, you don't want to blow the meter. There's
sure.
some meter protection circuitry in there too, but just in case, that shorts out the whole thing. Then I've got ranges from 15 milliamps down to 50 microamps. And the next knob to the left, current set, that just controls the current from almost 0 up to whatever the range setting is.
I like the logo. I like the logo.
Yeah, I'm kind of a Boston and Maine Railroad fan, so, you know, I adopted the colors and the paint scheme from the 1940 years, late 1940s era easels. The Boston
I like
and
it.
Maine used to have.
Very nice.
Thanks. So there's some of the guts. The thing in the blue board in the middle is the output stage, which is 2 sets of 3 MOSFETs. They're 1,000-volt MOSFETs, but I didn't want to run them at full rating, so I used 3 of them. So theoretically, I've got a 3 kilovolt rating on it. The PC board over there is, well, it's not PC, but the dead bug construction on the PC board, and it's the control circuitry, and then you know, the black box is AC power supply. I was originally going to run it from a wall wart, but I decided I didn't really want to leave it powered up all the time. So tacked on an AC power supply. It's a close up of the circuitry. The stuff at the top right is the meter shunts. The little IC in the middle is the dual op amp for running the constant current stuff, and then the rest of the stuff is there's some protection circuitry with TL431 control. Yeah, there's essentially a zener. You can set the zener point on by a pair of resistors, and so there's a clamp set to keep from blowing the op amp in case the FETs go crazy, and then on the other end is something to protect the meters. Basically, a power zener built out of one of those TL431s and a power transistor. Already roached the power transistor once, so it did its job, but I have to go in and replace it if it gets too much voltage. And there's the schematic. I won't go into the details on it, but I cribbed a lot of it from Horowitz and Hills. They have the Art of Electronics book. They have a high voltage power supply that they and amplifier that they use for driving piezo actuators. So I kind of cribbed the MOSFET output stage design from that. But it was pretty educational. I had this was the first time I've really tackled this complicated control loop with op amps. I had to go through and use my lab gear to take a Bode plot of the open loop frequency response of the output stage, and then figure out compensation that would keep the thing from stable. And I was astounded that it actually didn't oscillate when I actually closed the loop. So I haven't. I still have to build a load box that I can drive from a square wave generator, so I can see what the step response looks like to a step in load current, just to make sure there's enough phase margin. But at any rate, so far it's been working all right.
Very interesting.
So that's the project.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you, Steve. That's very interesting. I'm just impressed with all this, your backdrop, all the test equipment on top of it. You've got quite the lab, I might say, back there.
Yeah, well, about 90% of it doesn't work, so that's that's why I needed to build this thing first.
Well, still, it impresses everyone. It certainly impresses me. It's like, wow, look at that collection.
Well, it's I really wanted to display the collection, so when I retired, I took the time to start building this lab and have a place to display everything. So.
Well, worst comes to worst, when they get it all working and farm it out, you can always, take the photo now and you can use it as your permanent backdrop.
Yeah.
But, oh, well, thank you. That was great. Hey, George, what's going on out there in York? But you're right. Yeah, you're on mute.
Yeah, I took myself off mute, I hope.
Yep. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. I've been puttering around recently on a radio my brother had passed on to me, and he tried selling it at one point and it didn't go anywhere, so he says, hey, you want to take it? It's a Feta 700. It's
Oh, yeah.
one of the cloud radios.
Hmm.
And so I decided I was going to try and clean it up. The case, had some cracks, and it was pretty dirty, so it was missing its handle and the knobs and all those things. And so I pulled the chassis, and I've been working on that. And it's actually kind of sitting behind me here. And you see
Oh, yeah.
just sitting out here.
All its glory.
All its glory. Not much to it, obviously. And the inside.
Did you? Oh, George, you went on mute again. Maybe you hit the mute button accidentally.
Yeah.
There you
There
go.
we go. Okay, so I put through, the couple of caps in there and
Mm-hmm.
replace the, the filters and stuff like that. They had the wrong light bulbs in it, all that kind of stuff. So I've got it all working. I did an alignment. The only thing that's bothering me is a lot of these sets, normally the antenna trim is pretty sharp. I mean, you get to a certain point, you get a good signal and then you move a little bit off and just, it fades out. Well, this one, it doesn't seem to want to do anything and it's been driving me crazy. So I did a little investigating. I saw the AVC was off. Someone had at one point replaced the volume control with, instead of a 0.5 meg, I think they had a 1.5 meg in there, which kind of threw the AVC way off. But it seems to be getting back into the right spot, and the only reason I do that is because part of the loop on this ties back to the AVC line, and so I thought maybe that was part of the reason why it won't trim. So I haven't figured the answer to that yet. It goes quite wide, and it isn't as sensitive as I would like it to. It does good with the real local station, but from here, I'd like to at least get WBZ, and that
Sure.
normally comes in fairly well,
Yeah.
And if I put my hand back here by the antenna, I can get it, but I would think that the loop should have done it. So the loop has continuity. The coils have the right continuity. Check the resistors, check the caps. So I'm just right now it's sitting back here again until I can think of the next thing to test. But like I said, it shouldn't be that much to it, but it seems to be enough to frustrate me at times. So, and on top of that, I bought repro knobs for it. And I've lost them somewhere around. And I
Oh,
can't
no.
find the darn thing.
Isn't it annoying?
Oh, it is. I found the handle that I bought, and but the knobs I bought those first, and now they're somewhere in a box in the basement, I'm sure. But it'll take me a while to try and track that down.
You probably outfoxed yourself. Put it in a quote safe place.
Absolutely, it was very safe. And you know
Yeah.
what's going to happen? I'll eventually go get some other knobs, and then about 3 weeks later, I'll trip across it. Right?
Yeah,
I
of
mean,
course.
That's the way it works. So.
And then you have to find another fader, same model.
Well, I was thinking I was going to give this one back to my brother. He's going to be turning 70 actually in another week or so. So I figured this came from one of his friends who had passed away, and I thought maybe he'd take it and put it in the shop or something to listen to the ball game or whatever. So
Sure.
we'll see what happens. And anyways, that's what's going on lately.
Hey, thank you, George. Oh, that's all right.
You bet.
We get to see all these in progress projects. So,
True.
Hey, Russ, what's going on?
Hey, John. Hello, all. I do have something to show you if I can share my screen here.
Of course, yeah.
See if it works. I don't know what that is. No. Is that showing?
It's starting to paint, but it hasn't yet. There you go.
Okay. Oops.
Looks like military gear.
So these are Arc 5s, and these were they're called command sets, flying around somewhere during World War II and later. I've started collecting them, which I found out becomes something that you can't stop. So I have 5 of them now.
Oh, boy.
These are my first 2, and I was pretty fortunate to find these particular ones. I got them at the show in March, and the one on the left in particular still had the dynamotor on it.
Oh.
So I can swap the dynamotor between the 2 of them and use either one of them. I went through and took care of any of the caps and resistors, the usual stuff that we do with the regular radios that we work on. Let's see, this was it. A lot of, you'll see one of the other ones that I have, a lot of people modify these by putting controls here with this. You see this little, almost looks like a drawer. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to drill any holes. So I built a base for it and put the controls that I needed down there. So you have power, and then switch between CW and voice, sensitivity, volume. And then this happens to be a loudspeaker. It's a LS3. It's usually connected to my BC348, but for this test, I had it hooked up to that. And then this is the same radio now, connected to antenna, and with a set of military headphones on it. The red is actually a short cord that was called the bailout plug. So if they had to jump out quickly, they could do that. The tuning knob is actually this little guy.
They look like period headset then, for sure, Russ.
Yeah, it's definitely, it was one that would have been used in the same time, same period.
That's cool.
That was just, so I need 28 volts for the dyno motor, and that's it there. Just a power supply and a breaker on there that followed me home from work one day, so that took care of that. This one we already saw, and this is the current setup. So the top two are the ones that you've been seeing pictures of. The bottom two down here are my newer acquisitions. You can see here the modifications that have been done, the power, sensitivity, so forth. And then my power supply is sitting down here. The cable that we see on this one on the right now connects to a control head, so I can turn a crank on it, and then this dial will turn. So I can sit here and tune it. I just haven't found a permanent way of mounting it yet. I hope to one day find a rack for either 2 or 3 of these, so that would slide in. So anyways, the fifth one is not in the pictures. It is only for parts. It was pretty badly hacked up, but still worth having for the parts. I think that is it.
That's cool. I didn't know you were into that.
Those small panels, is that, was there normally a panel there?
Yeah, so this one here, if you can see my pointer. So that unscrews by 4 screws, and then there's a connector under there, and you could have, in other applications, you would have a connection going in there to the radio. I've followed it back. It seems to be somewhat of a duplicate of the connection that's on the back of it.
Yeah, I have 2 command sets, and one of them has that panel, but it also has a plastic knob on it, so obviously it's not original.
Oh, okay.
I really haven't looked at them. I just kind of like holding them and looking at them. That's about it.
Well, there
A lot of people would put plastic clock radio knobs
Yeah.
that fit on the spline shaft.
Yes,
Use
exactly.
that to tune it. If you don't have a control head like Russ has.
Yeah, I was fortunate to have also one of those knobs that comes with it for local tuning. That came with one of the radios, so that was a very lucky find. So far, yeah, I haven't had to adapt to a tuning knob. I can just move them around. Looks like Pierre has a transmitter that he needs to send up here.
Oh.
Uh-oh, there we go.
Yeah, there's back when I was about 10 years old or 12 years old, I was listening to hams talking about their transmitters and receivers, and one of them, one of the frequencies that I was on, they were talking about their ARC 5s, and they were talking about their 807s and so on. And so as soon as I got my ham license 3 years ago, I said, let me see if I can find an ARC 5. So I found one, and this one has not been modified by anybody. It's it somehow has survived ever since 1945. And I have yet to do anything other than admire it and look inside and clean it up a little bit.
Wow, what a great find to have it in that type of condition.
Yeah,
What's
One of the ones
what,
I've seen, the plexiglass, what is it? It's not plexiglass. It's over that front window is usually all distorted and yellowed and destroyed. Did you rebuild that, or is that how that looked when you got it?
oh no, this is how it looked when I got it.
Wow.
That's
The
really
thing
cool.
apparently, it seems like it just sat in a warehouse somewhere, just had a couple of numbers on it, scrawled on it. um, kind of identifying it, and that was it.
wow, no, that looks great.
Wow, yeah.
I've got an 80 millimeter receiver, transmitter. The receiver works, transmitter I haven't made to work yet. And a modulator, a homebrew modulator that someone built on an ARC-V chassis. And I'm looking forward to getting those all put together as just one little station.
Yeah, that'll be a fun project.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. Thanks, thanks both Russ and Pear on that regard. That's neat.
You got those at the March meet?
Yeah, the top two, and they were pretty
Yeah.
much untouched. In fact, the dynamotor still had its wire on it, the safety wire on it.
Yeah, the guy was down the end of the aisle. I was looking at him.
Yes, yeah. So that's them. I kind of didn't want to have to cut the safety wire, but at the same time, I needed to. I didn't want to try to put power to it without making sure that it was cleaned and not going to seize up. So I cleaned the grease out of it, re-greased it, and then tested it out, and it's working good.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Hey, Len, I see you way, way in the dark. I can barely see you. What's going on? You're on mute, by the way, in case you. It's so dark. There we go.
Not much.
Not much, huh?
No, not at all.
Not at all. Well, that's all right. I thought I'd check in, see what's going on. I did pre-announce your upcoming July 20th event at the Wireless and Steam Museum.
Oh,
So,
great. I appreciate that.
not a problem. You know, we'll have another reminder come July 10th because that will be our next Zoom meeting, and I think yours is on the 20th, so we'll have another reminder. But it's on the new website has a calendar of events, and in fact, if you click on the link, every one of those events, you can click on it, and it'll bring up another window for the event. So in other words, you'll bring up your website on that page, so anyone wants more information, or just in case it were to change, just in case our website is behind the times, because we're not always aware of changes outside our club's control. So, but at any rate, all right. Well, thanks there, Len.
That's
So, Bob, what's going on out there in Jersey besides being hot?
Oh, okay. Let me share an ARC-V memory. My father was involved with Solar Air Patrol,
Mm-hmm.
and my mother got involved with it as well. And my father actually became the communication officer for the whole state of New Jersey one time. He had a nice little ham-style bench that I used to spend many hours at. And he had the ARC-V with the long wave band. I didn't have the dynamotor. The dynamotors, you find one of them with a dynamotor, it's a home run because they're almost always missing. But this was one that someone had built and just ended up, my father had this thing. And my memory was I could tune that thing and pick up WFIL in Philadelphia at 5:60 a.m. That's as far as that dial would go. And I would just listen to the Philadelphia rock and roll station on that radio. That never left my memory. So I love all the ARC-Vs. They're a pretty cool set. I'll share one thing, and if you want to, I have two quick ones, but we'll just
Sure.
do one for now.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get out of my comfort zone a little bit in retirement. I noticed that there's, at least here in the New Jersey area, and I think in New York as well, and Long Island, there seems to be a fetish. I'll just use that word. It may not be the right word, but I'll call it a fetish for old phonographs. And there's even a group, some of you may be familiar with Harps, and that's a group that meets in northern New Jersey, lower upstate New York, and they get together and they have records and stuff like that. So I thought the standalone RCA 45 players were cool. And I just had a gentleman come today and picked one up that I restored. But I also had this was given to me a couple of years back from a fellow New Jersey club member. I think it's a 46 1201 Philco. They called it the Bing Crosby. And it's just an AM radio, and it's got a single disc 78 player on it. And it just slides in the thing, and you close the door, and then it plays. It's just like a CD or a DVD player. So I just did one of these, and I had a yard sale in the town here where you could make a donation to the local Boy Scout troop, and then you get lumped into this group, and they put a little sign in front of your house, and people just drive around in their cars and search for yard sale items. Well, I put that out there and a bunch of radios and stuff like that, and nobody bought anything for me. My wife had sold a couple things, but I didn't sell any. So I have this little video. If you could give me a share screen, John.
Yeah, you're good to go there, Bob.
Oh, I could click it on? Okay. So I thought I put it here. This is from my own, this is on my YouTube channel, but this is the actual video. It's not from YouTube. So let me click on that.
Okay.
Okay, and there it is in its glory. Let me now just hit the play button. Hope everybody can see that okay.
Yeah.
So this is just a raw video that I loaded to YouTube.
Well, I see some other radios there. It's in pretty nice shape.
Hey, Bob, did you share the audio?
Did you hear that?
No.
Yeah.
There's a in the top, I believe there's a share audio to the right of the red button.
Oh, the audio was shared. I could hear bleeps and boops. I think there just wasn't enough bandwidth for it to come through.
Oh, I'm
might be-
sorry.
That might be the case, but because I did hear a couple little.
Okay, so let me show you the other thing here. I see all these guys talking about their cars, so let me just show you just a quick picture of. Did that come up? Or do I have to hit the share again?
You have to share again there, Bob. Yeah.
Okay. I'm having a senior moment here.
No, it's all right.
You're younger than me.
And now let him share screen. There it is. So that's my ride right there, the white wagon.
I like that.
It's a 1967 Buick Sport Wagon. It's my toy car. It's digital photography makes it look much better than it actually is. When you get up to it, you can see the dirt over the paint lumps that someone painted on there before I got it.
Oh.
But it's relatively a rust-free car. There's a few little rust spots here and there, but they're very small. And the car to the left of my car is a 67 Skylark convertible, which is owned by a member of the New Jersey Antique Radio Club. Joe knows John Ruccolo. And that's John's car, but I'm showing the good side of his car because the other side's got a big dent in the door where his girlfriend backed the car out of his garage and caught the side of it.
Oh, that's a
so one day last summer I drove over to John's house, which is about a half hour from here, and I figured, we'll go out to the diner, have lunch, and then I'll let him drive my car, and maybe it'll give him some inspiration because I've been wanting to help him fix his car and get it on the road and driving, but I don't know. I guess it doesn't have like 20 tubes and a bone anchor dial on or whatever. I can't nudge him enough to get his Skylark on the road. So anyway, That's it. Let me just get out of here now.
I
So
like it.
the car is basically the Buick version of the Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser because it
Yeah.
has the glass on the roof and
I love that.
it's
I
got the Grand Sport motor in it. It drink like Purr's car. It drinks gas. You know, I could pass anything but a gas pump with that thing.
The only
But
thing,
it's a fun car, and when I take the local shows, people. It's really weird. I went to a car show about 8 years ago. It was right after I got the car, and a guy had this beautiful '57 Corvette convertible, two dual quads. It had the gold award from the Corvette collectors thing. So I think that car like 100 grand, you know, and it's beautiful. I was afraid to walk next to the thing. And I felt bad for the guy because people were flocking over and looking at my car. You know, oh, I had one of these. My family had one of these. And they can relate to the station wagon thing, but nobody can relate to a
yeah, flat.
1983 dual quad Corvette. You know, which I would much rather have in my garage. But still, that's just how things go sometimes. So it's
Hey,
part of fun in the collector car hobby, I guess.
Bob, maybe you know, or you know, I'm sure someone here does. When did they get rid of the little vent windows? When I looked at those pictures, I saw the vents on that thing, and I said, "Oh wow, I remember those things, and I remember them." My dad warning me. He says that's the most expensive piece of glass on that car, and when did they get rid of them?
I can't say for the Ford cars or the Chrysler cars. Maybe Noah could probably fill us in on the Chrysler cars. On the GM stuff, 67 was the last model year.
Yeah, I was running through the Rolodex in my head of '70s cars, American cars.
No, what was the cutoff on the Mopars for the vent window?
Well, it was kind of, Chrysler, they had to be weird about it, but I know for certain that in like 1970 or 1971, it depended on whether the car had AC or not.
Oh, really?
Because AC cars didn't get vent windows.
Right.
Because your windows were up all the way because you had the AC on. But if the car was not equipped with AC, they had vent windows because you needed to open your vent window, your wings, to help you cool off. Now that might have ended shortly after 1970 or 71 because it was a transition. At one point in time they all had the vent windows, and at another point in time they all went away. But right around 70, 71, there was this transition where it was tied to whether or not the car was equipped with air conditioning.
Yeah.
You guys would figure it out. Thanks.
I know the Europeans ran it longer. I think into the '70s, if memory serves. I almost want to say, and I was thinking about this, my aunt had a '78 Rabbit, and I thought it had vent windows. I could be wrong though, but I thought it might not have. It might not have.
Well, and then
I'm not sure.
Like my 73
It might not have.
74 Jensen Interceptors had vent windows, but they were fixed. They didn't open. They were only there to make
maybe I'm
easier for a rectangular piece of glass to go up and down next to it.
I'm pretty sure the Beatles had them up to the end,
and
but after that they just did away with them.
And they were, I see them. I did a quick look, and I think my memory is that it was a faux window. I think you're right. I was trying to remember the Beatles. The last Beatle I think was 78 or 9 that was in the United States.
Yeah.
It was late 70s. So maybe that's what I was thinking of. I remember seeing some European cars still going out the door with them. I remember my dad had a 1965 Mercedes-Benz, and he had that for quite a while. It's his pride and joy. He had this beautiful, it had the vent windows, and it had this beautiful screw, nice hard plastic ribbed screw to tighten the window and also loosen it, so then you could open it up to open up the window. But it was this beautiful armature to open and close and control the tightness, so that thing was sealed if you tighten it.
I know on the early 50s GM cars, like my mom's first new car was a 54 Pontiac, and my father bought brand new, and that had that little locking. It was metal though; it didn't have a plastic knob. But it had a little metal knob. You could actually lock that vent window and not be able to open it. I remember that.
Yeah.
Plus, it had the V8.
I just drove in my friend's.
Indian head.
Oh, I love it.
On the hood that
Lit
would
up.
light up with the headlights.
Yeah, that's so
I
cool.
thought that, when I was a little kid, I thought that was so hot.
I just drove in my friend's 1950 Plymouth convertible.
Mhm.
And that's the first time I recall ever seeing having that screw to use to make it so that you could not open the wing windows.
Yeah, this little
But
engineering
my,
techniques we
but
take
my
for granted.
my 35 has something different. It being the fanciest model for the year, if you crank the crank inside the car one direction, it opens or closes the wing window. If you crank it the other direction, the entire wing window goes down into the door. So then if you have opened that and you've opened your side window, you've got a clear open space for the whole thing.
Cool.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a clever. I've never heard of that until now.
I've got a friend
I've never
who's got
seen
34
another
Plymouth
car with
coupe
it except for mine.
I was sorry, Greg.
I've got a friend that's got a 34 Plymouth coupe that has that too, where the vent wing opens up, and if you crank the handle one way, the whole window goes down with the vent wing. It's kind of
Yeah, same thing.
unique.
Oh, another thing about fixed windows, when I was working over in Africa, 1968, 69, I I saw that the British, who were starting to lose out on market share with their cars, they were sending cars to Africa with the cheapest model with a fixed wing window, going to hot places. And, somebody was too stupid sitting there in London. No,
Well,
they never were in the kind of heat that you find over in West Africa.
sure, sure. But hey, Carl, what's going up in Maine?
I'll tell you what, I'm arranging a picture here. Can you give it maybe to Mr. Devonshire?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do Joe last. So what I'll do is
Okay.
I'll give Greg some airtime, which I have the pictures for and the video. But
And I'm all set now.
oh, you are
So,
okay. Well,
yep,
then, Greg,
yep.
you'll be next.
I just finished stuff. No, on Route 66. When I retired, I had flown so much across the country. I said, I want to see it at 3 feet. And part of it was Route 66, which I picked up in Oklahoma. No, in Texas.
Hmm.
No, in Oklahoma. I don't remember, one of those places. And drove all the way out. I had bought a couple of books on it. And one of them, very interesting, there were about 3 iterations of Route 66. It actually is one town where you can go and see all 3 different parts of it. Just got changed along the way. And I ended it, I got to Santa Barbara, the very end of it, right at the beach on my birthday, and spent the night at the Hotel California.
Nice.
I think it was
Nice.
was a good way to celebrate my birthday. All right, I'm going to try and share screen here.
All right.
So let me find my way. Where am I? I guess basic. Now I just have to find.
Ooh. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That's not what you're supposed to see yet. Here we go. All right, so the latest project. This is about the second or third one of these I've owned, but it's the only one I've ever actually gotten to get to restoring. It's an RME 69, and when it's done, it's a pretty ham radio receiver from the 30s. RME believed that if you they believed a couple things. If you had a ham license, you didn't need labels on the knobs. because you should know where they are. And secondly, in the very beginning, they didn't even tell you how to align the receiver. They figured you're ham, you ought to know how to do it. So, but I saw one of these done by, and I'm drawing a blank on his name, the club member. He's passed away maybe about 5 years ago or so, who used to do just beautiful restorations. And I think he did it commercially too for others. And he had done one of these. And one of the things for a while they did was the main tuning in the dial. They put blue glass of some sort over it, and it just really looked sharp. So really, I got some cosmetics to do there. But let's see, I got to move all you guys. Um, that's the big chore, and I say the big chore because there is no parts placement. So you might be dealing with this tube socket here, but the capacitor is over here, but you don't know that. You gotta find it over time, and I'm just doing all the capacitors, and I would say 90% of the resistors. I start with the power supply, and then I work from the audio amp back, and I'm now in this section, which is the IF section, and I've replaced those couple of parts there. So, hopefully, taking off for a month of cruising on the boat in a week, but hopefully by the end of the summer it'll be done. So,
Cool.
it also is going to need some time spent cleaning, but always a radio that I've liked. And up in here, this was an option. It was a noise silencer, and it actually replaces two tubes. It plugs right into two tube sockets,
Oh, wow.
but the circuit doesn't recognize that. So you have to have a circuit diagram for this with minimal instructions, and of course, circuit diagram for the rest of the radio. So I'm having my challenges, but it's fun. It's fun figuring it out. And since you all were talking about your cars, this was my baby for about 12 years.
Oh,
And if you can't quite see it, but I had the vanity plate 50 GMC,
oh,
and
nice.
had a lot of fun with that truck. Bought it off of eBay, something I thought I'd never do. It was a 3/4 ton pickup,
Yeah.
all original parts, not original to the truck, but based on what I was able to tell, this thing was literally hauled out of a field in Missouri, and it was rusted and decrepit looking. The guy and his kid and his father did his father-son project, and there was a whole album of photographs. They complete frame off, not concourse, not award-winning, but it was a lot of fun to drive. First year, I probably could have towed my house up here rather than buying one.
Yeah.
Topped out at about 50, the
Yeah.
vehicle began knowing you, it was letting you know it was not pleased with that speed.
Yeah.
So,
Inline
and
six.
the old yeah, yep, the old 6 and the old vacuum wipers.
Oh, yeah.
Come
Oh,
to a stoplight, and the wipers would stop working.
oh yeah. I remember that.
No,
So that is cool.
I
love
like
yeah,
the
it was
tilt out
all.
vent.
I'm sorry.
I like the tilt out vent right in front of the on either
Yes,
side of the door.
and
Yep.
in front
Air
of
conditioner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, that was it. That was it. And actually, the heater in that model, Joe, was an option.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
so
I could tell that was a serious work truck because I could see the 8 lug wheels on them. So
yep.
it had to be at least a 3/4 ton. How was the ride on that thing driving down the road though? Was that kind of hard with that added
Well,
suspension?
a very good friend and I decided um, that we were going to go to Ohio because there's a vintage truck meet there in August. And of course, I couldn't take any highways. I mean, it
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, I
it was
can't.
too squirrely at the highway. See, so I mapped out the whole thing on back routes. Our first night was going to be in State College, Pennsylvania. At about 8 o'clock at night, we got to Scranton
Yeah,
and we were exhausted.
I bet.
We would drive for an hour, trade off, and during the hour trade off, we'd have to put in about a quart of oil. We had to scream at each other the entire time. So the next day we got up and drove back. But before we moved up to Maine, I sold it. I knew I was going to move, and I said I won't have any place to keep this. And another collector bought it, and I understand took it to the next level of restoration. So that was my toy.
That's
Nice.
pretty cool. I like
Nice
it.
truck.
Yep. So that's it from Amherst, Maine.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you, Carl. That's cool.
Yeah,
Love
yep.
it. Let's see
How do
here.
I-
Hold up. Here, I'll take care of it for you.
All right.
So, so Greg, I could show the before after photos you shared with me and also the video. Do you want me to do that and you can narrate, or do you want to show
Sure.
something directly?
Well, we can do that. I just wanted to show something direct to
Oh
Bob.
yeah, do it.
This is an ad that I have on top of my 1201. I think
Oh,
it's
jeez.
gonna here.
Bing Crosby.
Yeah. This is the size of like from a Life magazine. That's how big the ad is.
That's cool. I love it.
Oh,
Bing Crosby made Philco a whole lot of money.
Well, yeah, now the back here's a different one. This is a 1260. It was a console version of that.
Yeah.
And slide in record player. Same chassis, same everything, just in a square box.
Love it.
Hopefully slightly bigger speakers.
Very slightly, yeah. I've seen one once. It maybe has a 6-inch speaker instead of a 3.
Really? There's so much space back there.
Yeah, it was not a very popular model. You don't. I've seen maybe 1 or 2 of those in all the years, but the 1201s you see a ton of. They're pretty common.
Cool. Well, that was great. Let me. I'll share my screen. There we go.
While you're doing that, I can tell a quick story. I've done about 6
yeah.
or 8 of those 1201s, and one of them, I don't know if any of you remember the comedian Jerry Colonna. He was
Oh, yeah.
Bob Hope's sidekick. Had the big brush mustache. Well, anyway, yeah. Greetings,
That
Gabe.
was the guy with the funny eyes, wasn't it?
Yeah, he had a big bulged eyes. He was in some of the road pictures. Well, I did a 1201 for his son, Bob Colonna. And Bob remembers his dad had one when he was a kid back in the late 40s. And I figured out the reason his dad had one is because Jerry Colonna was a guest on Bing's radio show, which was called Philco Radio Time. And all the guests got a 1201 as part of their compensation
Wow.
for being on the show.
oh,
So he remembered that, and he was just thrilled to have that memory back again after all those years. He said when he was a kid, he thought that was magic. How you slid the record in and it would play.
Yep, you could slide in either a 10-inch or a 12-inch, and it would figure it out because it had those little rollers, the little arms, and so the tone
Right.
arm would go to the right spot when you close
Mhm.
the door.
Yeah, it was an amazing feat for technology at that time.
The craziest piece of technology is that weird volume control of the on-off switch.
Yeah.
It
And they
was
used
funny
the
because
switch
when I
for-
posted my video on my YouTube channel, I think well Joe Devonshire commented, and the second comment was, "Hey, you better hope that volume control don't go bad." And I replied back, I said, "Hey, I got a parts carcass, so I'm all right."
Till you restore the parts carcass, and then you need a third one because now it's not a parts carcass because it still plays, and it's like, well, I can't take it apart.
Yeah, this was the latest acquisition. This was a 1942 GE model L660. And I always thought these were kind of neat because they kind of look a little bit like a car dashboard with that chrome.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, I agree. I
That's a
agree.
good looking radio.
It is. I really
Yeah.
like the way that looks. With the bezel and so forth, the escutcheon, beautiful.
Hmm.
And like you
Good
said, look,
size
You say
speaker too.
it's a car dashboard because the speaker's coming up out of the top to hit the
yeah.
windshield.
Yeah, exactly. So those are the after pictures.
See,
Let's see.
after, oh, I guess I reversed it. Sorry, Greg.
Oh,
Uh,
that's okay.
I think they just show up in lexicographical order.
Yeah, that's fine. I had to re-veneer the
There's it.
side.
There we go. Now there's the,
Whoa.
it was sitting out in a field.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say I had to re-veneer the sides and those top pieces next to where the grill is. I paid a whopping $2 for it.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. You do
That's
really nice work, Greg. I mean, there's another sobering picture
Yeah.
of how sad it looked. But I'll tell you, the dial face still looks good despite the age. But wow, let me if I just I'm gonna let me just move this. Let me go
Yeah,
back
really.
to the photos again. You get to see
Well,
that.
that reminds me of
Look
the
at
old
that.
cigarette commercial on TV I saw when I was a kid where the guy's talking to his dog. And he
Yeah.
asked the dog, "Hey, how do most cigarettes taste?" And the dog goes, "Rough."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that thing was either in a room where there was a fire or there was a wood stove because it was just caked with like some kind of a soot or something. The dial glass was just black.
Wow.
Smokers.
Wow.
There was, yeah, it could have been a
It was
smoker
all
too, but
nicotine.
I think it was more like a wood stove or something like that.
I just restored an RCA Bakelite radio that sat on a mantle, and I had to spend hours sanding the Bakelite to try to get all the soot and nastiness off. It was,
Yeah.
fixing the radio was the easy part. It was cleaning all that junk off the box was crazy. So
Yeah, one thing that was kind of unique about this is it uses a nightlight bulb for the dial. And when I took it apart, it had a GE branded nightlight bulb in it, but the bulb was pink. So the
Pink.
scale lights up red. Yeah.
well,
Interesting.
maybe it
looked like it
matched
was-
that little switch on the volume control there.
Yeah. It looked like it was factory. It still worked, so I left it in because it had a GE logo on the
Yeah,
bulb.
sure.
How
Interesting.
did you ever find that red knob?
Yeah, that's
got
really
that.
interesting.
I got that from Renovated Radios.
Okay.
Is that the tone control, Greg?
It's a tone control. It switches back and forth just from treble to bass.
Wow, that's a terrific looking radio. I really do like the way these look.
And that's one of those where you have to have the last push button pushed in for dial tuning.
Yep.
The other 4 presets, Greg?
Yes.
Okay.
Looks like a console that shrunk.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, put it in the dryer for too long.
Somebody left it in the dryer too long.
It's not that big though. It looked bigger in the pictures. I'd say it's maybe about 12, 13 inches wide.
Oh, okay. That's good size.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, not the size of a console or anything, but it kind of looks that way.
It must have quite a nice bright lighting if you've got a nightlight bulb as the dial light. It must be pretty bright.
Yeah, it is actually. It lights up pretty nice. I didn't get a picture of it turned on, but
I like it aesthetically, and just like you said, it looks a lot like a car dash. I really like it.
so I picked that up at our meet on the June 2nd. That's my latest
terrific.
project.
Cool. Hey, Greg, what I'm going to do, because I'll show something briefly, is I'm going to hold up your video to the next meeting. Is that okay?
Sure, that's fine.
But we got a nice, interesting video to show at the upcoming. Because I promised I would try to keep things reasonable at the time, and I still got to give Joe his slot there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me. I will show. Let me see. I should.
How long is it, John? Show it.
It's
I
about
think it's
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Go for it. It's all right.
Yeah. Okay. Go for it. All right. So I'm going to show the video. Hold on. Let's see. I should have it in my. Make sure I do have it here. I do. Okay. All right. So let me.
This was just last time we talked about the GE Colorama, and you wanted to kind of see a demonstration of how that worked. And I remembered I had a video of it I shot back in 2016 when I restored mine.
Yeah. Let me.
Edit
I'm
it
about to
down
let
a
me
little bit.
share this one here. All right. Here we go. Let's see here. Okay, give it a moment. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the audio will still come through on that, but
We'll give it our best here.
yeah.
All right, let's see what happens here. I think I have it set to share the sound, so let's see what happens.
I think if you go in that little box way over on the
Left
corner,
is off on volume.
Can you guys hear anything?
Down here is a tone control. It's kind of a unique tone control. It has music, which is a potentiometer, and then it reaches the end and it clicks and it goes to speech, which is a much more tinny sound just for obviously a speech. And then we have the frequency control, which is locks you into the station. If you're close to it and it's a little bit fuzzy, you turn the audio frequency switch and it'll grab hold and lock you right on. Here's the band switch. This actually has 3 bands. Here's a close-up of the dial. And the dial scale is on a spool. And as you rotate through the bands, the spool brings the new band up. It has a police band and a shortwave band. And these also came with station call letter identification sticker. Not a sticker, it's kind of a tab or something you put in there. Ironically, I'm in the Milwaukee area. This has a Milwaukee station, WTMJ, and it has 2 Chicago stations, WBBM and WGN. And I think it may have WLW, that's a one WIND. So this was from around this area, which is pretty unique. This is a 10-tube radio. There's 10 tubes in this thing. It's amazing. I have consoles that have only about 7 or 8 tubes. And GE pioneered metal tubes. In 1936, this was I have to do a little research, but I'd be willing to bet that this was one of the, if not the first year that they used metal tubes. So everything in here, every tube is a metal tube. And all but 2 of them are the original GE branded tubes, which is pretty amazing. There's the reactor that controls the colorama over here. Of course, the transformer. You can kind of see the bank of lights up on top of the dial there. There's 4 red and 3 green under there, and they alternate. It starts with red, then green, then red, and so forth. Has an 8-inch speaker. And this was the top of the line radio, as I mentioned, for GE in 1936. And the only difference between the console model and this model is the console used the same chassis, just that they used a 12-inch speaker instead of an 8-inch. Okay, here's the band lit up red between stations. Now we're going to tune to local station 1470, which is very strong. And let's see, we'll go back to this. Oh wait, I'm looking through the camera trying to do this.
Live music, all that stuff going on. More great family fun festivities tomorrow as well. It's a lot of fun, and judging by the weather the last couple of days, it could be winter's last gasp. So enjoy the outside winter activities while you can. And it's always nice when Mother Nature kind of cooperates a little bit and gives some decent weather for winter festivities. You just never know. Sometimes you get those below 0 days. So definitely nothing like that for the winter festival.
Turns red in between. This is my transmitter coming up. There's some Horace Heidt playing Musical Nights. Back in between stations.
Cool.
Nice.
I love it. I think that's
Yeah, I've never seen one.
that's terrific. I've never seen. Yeah, I love the.
Yeah, it was only a
like,
1 year thing.
What was it called?
Well, they named it the Colorama. I think it was just called Focus Tuning. G had 1936 on their high-end radios.
Boy, you do a beautiful job of restoration. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
even the tube caps were shiny.
Thank you.
I'm not going to do any after pictures of the RME.
That's all right. Yeah, Greg does wonderful restoration.
How did you get the tube caps so clean? The grid caps.
Well, I just took a little steel wool to them, I think. Or,
Okay. Well,
That was terrific. It's absolutely terrific. I enjoyed the video. Thank you, Greg, and thank you for Greg had also shared with me as a longer edition, which was actually a lot of fun as well. But this is perfect to show the operation of it, and it's funny listening is incongruous as it is to listen to Michael Jackson on the radio. But was that old music? Was that like an AM transmitter you were using? Was there
yeah, the old music was AM transmitter, but that other station was our local station for
Right.
a long time. They played music on AM.
That was cool. Mine will be short, and then I'm going to hand up to Joe. But I have a little something I can share. Let me go and share. Hold on. So, here we go. So I think at the last meeting, I had at the Springbrook line, I got this Panasonic RE7670 AM/FM receiver from Rogers and Susie, and I've always had a little bit of a fondness for these, early '70s Panasonics. They were actually rather cool, and I just couldn't resist. I said, let me go, something a little bit different. Roger say, works fine, and so when I powered up, I noticed, okay, it's got a few dialights out. So this one happens to use the fuse style lighting. So they're 6.3 volt, 250 milliamp bulbs, but they're fuse style, and they're hard to find because most of them used to, like most of us, used to the screw type or the bayonet style conventional bulbs. And turns out I don't know a lot about, or I'm learning a lot about what, some of these little nuances of Panasonics. But they started out, I think the first line, they made I think they made B, C, and D versions of the same radio, and I think they made some minor evolutions. And I think somewhere along the way, I think this is the first version. So this looks to be from 1973, and they probably later revised it to like the typical screw type bulbs, the Type 46. So at any rate, I said, okay, let me go. I found some on eBay for reasonable money. Got and even came with the grain of wheat stereo light for this radio. So it was actually a guy who parted these radios out and provided light kits. So I said, great, I'll go and replace them, because I knew this. I think this has like 4 or 5 lights, and I think it's 5, and 2 are out. So I took, it actually comes apart reasonably well, because actually that picture below it, it's just 12 screws, it's just a bunch of screws you're taking out here. Just make sure you remember which one's which is easy enough to do if you just, take your time. And of course, when I was doing this, I decided, you know what? I had the 24 Hours of Le Mans in the background, because I love endurance sports car racing. And so I had that in the background while I'm working on this. So perfect situation here, working on vintage electronics and I have car racing. But anyway, so, opening up wasn't a big deal. I mean, here's, no big shocker. It's early evolution of solid state. The thing looked to be in pretty good shape otherwise. It did, it was working pretty well. I would say overall it was working very nicely. In fact, I found a pair of speakers on eBay, because when I got this to Roger, it didn't have speakers. So I found a pair of matching speakers. They take 16 ohm speakers, a little bit higher impedance, And so I didn't dare, connect anything too low because I was worried about damaging the circuitry. So I found a pair of essentially the exact same speakers, a somewhat different model. I think Panasonic seemed to do is they put when they sold the speakers with the receiver, they put the receiver model on the back of the speaker, even though those speakers were used in different, same speakers were used across different other variants of their receivers. And so mine is an RE7800 set of speakers, but they're the same ones that came with this. Because I looked pretty closely and they're identical. So I got it for reasonable money. I got them from I got them on eBay, like $50, and I'm in. And just I love looking at all the little details of the serial number and so forth. That was just a minor picture. But anyway, here was the easy and hard part. The first one here was the first one that was out, and that was an easy replacement because what I did is I just used for shish kebabs. You can use the wooden sticks. I said, well, this is an easy way to just gently pry it out, popped it out, not a problem. That was not a big deal. This is a very modest repair, of course. But the one that gave me the most trouble was this one right here, because this is an angled photo, but this brace doesn't come out, or at least if it is, I don't know how it comes out. There's a screw here, and I could get the screw out, but I couldn't get the bloody thing to move off of the off the front. So I didn't want to force anything. So I said, all right, I'm gonna have to just try to work around it. And the irony is, this is by the way a photo of the dial light. So it literally looks like a fuse.
Wow.
And you don't see these that often. I was lucky to find a set of 5 for reasonable money. So the hard part, I go back to the picture, is it seemed like, okay, I have all these tweezers and I tried different tools to get the thing to sit, because really the goal is to get it sitting on the cradle. And once you do, then you can just take, put the equal pressure and put it down on both ends gently, and it'll slide right into the fuse holder. It's literally a light bulb holder. It looks like a fuse holder. And I had all sorts of different pliers and things, but trying to keep a grip on a glass bulb is not easy. So I finally said, after fighting, I finally resorted using my fingers. I actually was like moving around. I was able to finally, just by using my fingers, finally get it to. It took me like 45 minutes. It's ridiculous. So this is a ridiculous thing I've ever seen to actually replace the light bulb, that accessible in 45 minutes. Finally got it to land on the cradle, and I had 2 of those little wooden skewer things, which are great little tools, by the way, for gentle prying, as long as you're not putting too much force in it, because then it's wood will just break you. Plastic is always the better choice, but finally got it to seat. So I got, this is just a picture of the other side, really. So I cleaned it all up. So I did nice detailing and so forth. In fact, this is what it looks like. It's actually in really nice shape.
Oh, nice.
It had just a couple of little very minor, has a couple of light scratches on the case, but I did some just light cleaning. It blended right in, and I'm not going to do anything too crazy there. And there's it up on the shelf with the 2. I got 2 speakers sitting there on my shelf, and well, there's a little sad parts of the story shortly. Not a big deal, but here's up close. It has a wonderful. I love those. The kind of like orangey lighting with the green stripe. They made a version of this, by the way. I'm not sure how it works, where have automatic tuning, and the dial light uses this green bar, so it's going across. It's all black, and it goes from obviously from left to right, and it'll look like a strip a green strip that it'll lock onto each station as you go across. So I spent all this time buttoning this radio up, and I was very careful. At least I thought it was. And I discovered I've got now a problem on FM. It cuts in and out constantly. AM works great. Input works. My Fire tablet, in fact, is sitting on top of this. It's a very simple, 3.5 millimeter RCA jack to standard RCA, RCA jack in to the back of it. That works fine. There's no problem in output. Everything is great. I'm starting to wonder, because I was fiddling with the power cord, as I'm pretty sure on these radios, the FM antenna is in part of the power cord, and I'm wondering if it's cutting out. So there's a connection problem, because the thing will just cut out, and if I jiggle it, it might be on for a little bit, but it's extremely sensitive. It wasn't as sensitive before when I first powered up and used it before I opened this up. But the thing that's annoying is I thought I was careful, and something must have been just marginal there, and I probably upset it a little bit. And so I have to go back and I have to open it up again and have a look, because otherwise, it's actually a thoroughly pleasing, little system. It's not going to win any sound awards, Bose, it's not. But it has that classic 70s, look and sound that, makes for a perfectly, fun system. So the moral of the story is I'm going to have to open it up again. I don't know, hopefully when I get some time to this weekend or something, and see if I can figure out what's amiss here, because that's the only bummer. But otherwise, yeah, it's really cool. It's all nicely lit up. It's got 5 lights across, and but it was surprisingly, took me a lot longer than I expected to get the lights done. I thought this would be like, a 5-minute job. Huh. But anyway, there's my little ongoing project, a little twist. Usually I'm playing with something German, and I decided to play around something Japanese this time. But
well, that was nice.
But I like it. So Joe, how about you?
Yes, I am not well, but I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, sorry, I see your arm and wrapped up.
Yeah, 5 more weeks from yesterday, and I'll get it off. If you guys haven't heard, I took a small spill down my basement steps Tuesday of last week. This was the culmination of a morning from hell. It started at 5 a.m. when my smoke detectors started to rattle through the house, and I got up and the adrenaline flew, and I went through the house as fast as I could to make sure nothing was going on, which it wasn't, fortunately. But you know how it is when adrenaline's flowing and you can't get back to sleep. So I got up, and my wife got up about 8 o'clock, and I said to her, I'm going to go around and change all the batteries out in the smoke detectors. A prudent thing to do when your smoke detector starts to make noise. So I did one on the first floor, and I thought, well, let's start from the bottom up. And I went to the basement. And as I got about the 3rd step from the bottom, my right foot departed the step, and the rest of me followed it. And I ended up going down on my left side, and my left wrist has a fracture in it. So we're carefully watching that from week to week. So when John brought this up, well, before I get into the thing I'm going to go through tonight, as you guys know, that I'm one of the editors with the newsletter, and when I see hot material for the newsletter, I like to bring things up. And Greg and Rob, you would really be the candidates I'd be after tonight to get things into Raven for us. Rob, with your transmitter project, no matter where it stands, we'd sure like to see your progress. Actually, you could write articles and progress reports and get it in there. And then Greg, you too, excellent work that you do, and things I've seen over time as well. So we're always looking for different things, and those 2 things just came to mind right away. And we don't have a whole lot of material, so whatever you send in, we'll probably get it in the next issue that comes out, to be right up front with you on it. So when John brought up this idea, and Carl and I kind of had this idea as well to do this kind of a go around in a meeting. I was thinking today as to, well, what could I talk about tonight? And of course, what's a better thing than to talk about the weather? So I scrambled through, and also, just so you know, I'm an avid record collector. I have probably way more than I'll ever need in life, but it's one of those things. So I got to think about the weather, and I thought, well, let's see what we have weather-wise. And this came up.
Oh.
So, okay, so this movie was not a big hit. Okay, came out in 1963. It don't know how well it did. I didn't go and look into it, but Nat King Cole does the title tune on it. Okay. And I think there was something else. Over the Rainbow was also done it. So, that was that. But and consider this. This is the A side. Okay, keep this in mind.
Okay.
The B side is this.
Perfect.
Okay. The Lazy, Hazy, Crazy Days of Summer. Growing up, all of us had to have heard it once. Okay. In 1963, you probably lost count over the years how many times you've heard it. But this was my weather introduction to tonight. So the other thing I was thinking about is, well, what else could I talk about tonight? And who else but Benny Goodman?
Oh, yeah, it's a good one.
So the 1937 Carnegie Hall concert, I think everybody that went to that concert also went to Woodstock, and they shared stories back and forth between the concerts. You talk to people, well, most of them are gone now, that went to the concert in 37 and 38. But they all said, oh, yeah, we were all there. Talk to my grandparents. They were there, even though they weren't. So I'm looking at different things here, and I do comparisons of early 45 RPM records, and this was one of them. I'm not sure which pressing this is, because of the volume 2 of the Benny Goodman concert series that they did. There were at least 3 different pressings of this set. The first one that I believe came out was about 1949. They had another one that came out with a red cover. Catalog number on that one was SL 180. And then they came out again in 1959 with a blue cover. So, and as over the years, when I've seen the records from the concert, I was always perplexed as to why the colors were all different. But that's it. It was different pressings in different years. Always trying to make a buck off of Benny. So here's what the record is. It's green, which leads me to believe it's one of the early pressings that they had. Green and blue is what Columbia did in the early years. And also the liner notes in the 45 were more detailed than what they had on the LP, and I'll get to the LP shortly. This would be page 1 of 4 of the box set here that I have. And if you want me to put it on my Google Drive, I can do it and share that with you. I'll keep it up for about a month and then take it down. But all the liner notes are here. Okay. And you can't really tell on the bottom down here what year it was. In some records that they put out, you can actually tell what year it came out. They'll have a code.
Sure.
But they're trying to, peddle this business here as well. And they have the A1035, which is the other version. So moving along, here's the LP version. Same thing, but if we zone in on the bottom, get this up here, originator of the modern long playing record, which I don't think they have the year on this one either. No, it'd be on that side. So here we are. This is probably 1949, 1950, and you're going to see a different color label. Now it's blue. I'm not sure that the original pressing was green or blue. I'd have to go through my entire collection of these things to figure out which is which, and today was not a good day to try to do that. Very good looking record there. And you can see on the back here, the liner notes are really short. They only give you a brief introduction over here, where they gave you a full page on the box set. And then they give you some information about each of the selections that are on the record. So moving along, Technology. You probably want no, every time I see somebody show pictures of what they have, they don't show what the camera is that they use. Well, I have a Canon, and I also have a copy stand that I picked up a long, long time ago to get sharp photos of what I do. And that's the back of the camera. You can see down into the copy tray, and I'm shooting this with a real tiny camera. That's the front of the camera, the EOS T5. And here's a little camera that took all those pictures. It's a 14 megapixel, dinky little Kodak, but it gets the job done.
Yeah.
To get that, the Canon takes everything else. Now, in closing, there's something else I'm after, and you guys probably remember a week or two ago, I put a question out about a digital microscope. Well, this little thing shows up in the box, I believe it was yesterday. I haven't had time to do anything with it, but I wanted to at least let you see it. It gives you a 250x magnification, and all that you see here is what's in the box. Now, here's the back of the box with specifications. I got this through Amazon for, I believe, $38.99, $39.99, something like that.
Not bad at all.
And I'm not a Prime member, so my wife had some other things to get, so we beat Amazon on that one. And then the inside of the box, this is what you get. It has the instruction sheet, English and Chinese, a little platter for it to sit on, and a blister pack with everything that's inside. I'll give you a review on it when I get it going. Let me get out of this. One of the reasons I got it was I don't have failing vision at all. I'm just finding it, I have to use too many lenses to magnify IF coils when I'm trying to repair them, especially that real tiny wire. Yeah. And my hope is that as I hold it under the camera, I'll be able to actually get a better idea and vision of what I'm trying to do. The last Philco IF coil I did was on a 60, and with trying to hold, I had the loops on my head. I had a big lens in front of me over that. Then I had the coil down below that and the soldering iron. And that was an adventure and frustration. So I'm hoping that this will bring me a happier day. So thanks for paying attention.
Oh, that's great. Joe, does that come with software, or is that just,
You have to download your software separately from that. There's an instruction booklet that really doesn't tell much other than give you pictures.
Yep.
And
right. I think it's an app.
Real brief text. Yes.
Cool. I'm looking forward to it. I guess, I appreciate that was an interesting email thread you started on, groups.io. So
yeah, a fella from down in the New Jersey club, of all the people that responded to me, he is one of our DX members, like I am. Carl is. He's down in Virginia, near Virginia Beach, and he brought this up and says he's really had a lot of success with it. So I thought the price was right. If it's a piece of junk, I'm not out a whole lot of money.
Right.
And there's another version that has essentially a tablet display on top of it, but I wanted a bigger screen and I wanted to be able to zoom in more. So I thought this for the price, I thought I have nothing to lose.
I think.
Hey Joe,
yeah.
When you and I talked yesterday, you said it had a couple of USB cords.
Yeah. Let's hang on a second. I'll show you.
I'm just wondering if it'll plug into a like an Android phone or a.
Here's what it has.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it might go into
phone
Android
or
phone.
Tablet. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah. So
I was thinking more, would it plug into a 55-inch high definition flat screen television?
You need an HDMI adapter, but you could put it into your computer and take if you have an HDMI on the back, put the HDMI over to your screen.
Yeah, but you gotta do it with the fancy TV there. the old
Yeah.
one, the predictor.
No, that's the problem. My eyes are, 525 interlace. I need I need some higher resolution when I'm looking at these small things. I'm even thinking I could be sitting getting back to PER before, I could be sitting a carburetor on that little tablet and
Yeah.
looking down inside a carburetor or inside a distributor, to set those points the right way and all that kind of stuff as time goes by.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, I mean, hey, we'd love to hear the reviews because, Amazon may get a whole, a fair amount of steady stream of orders if this turns out to be a successful product.
Yeah, it's like those little component testers. When Bob first brought it up about what was it, about 7 or 8 years ago now, Bob, with your little component tester, the LCR tester,
Right.
and he did a YouTube on it for like a Christmas present, I think it was, and then the rest of us got the bug. We all bought them, so I think we cleaned out the warehouse. And now they've come up with this thing. It has a wall wart that plugs into it. So that's where they're at now with it. Ours were 9-volt batteries.
Yeah, because they know you're going to be cheap and running a horrible freight and buy a pack of 9-volt batteries.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think the same thing happened with the Tiny SA, the little spectrum analyzer that has the little source built into it.
Yep, that's so.
Not going to go out.
Cool.
I worked for Hewlett Packard in the test equipment division for 40 years, but I was never going to pay HP prices to get an HP Spectrum analyzer if I could get a Tiny SA for short money.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
actually, the user interface was actually stolen from the 8565 RF Spectrum analyzer from like the 1980s or whatever.
Well, this is great.
It's fun.
There's a lot of terrific presentations here, guys. I was far exceeded my expectations on content. Not that it has to be that way every meeting, but the fact we just got a chance to go around and share whatever was great. We covered a lot. How many times get you get to see a 1935 Hudson carburetor? How many times? Or no less than Colorama. Things like that. When you get to see that?
Exactly.
Next and you get to know each other a little better.
Yeah, I think that was a good. That was a great suggestion there.
I've never done a Zoom meeting with someone in the witness protection program either.
got Len out there.
Len down there. He's just kind of sitting back, nice and quiet. You can see like his reflection off his glasses, so he's there. It's kind of like looking at a cat in the dark.
Shadow.
Yeah, but
he's kind of like Larry. Larry does the same thing. He'll sit in the dark.
Also, Bruce does that too when he sits in the dark. You always see it looks like the head's detached from the body. It's just floating around. There we go. There's no.
I got to remember to put the lamp on, otherwise, I got to look like this. I'm weird.
Like Oz.
That.
John, you
look like some guy from a Svengoolie movie.
Yeah.
You can turn the lights off if you have white hair,
Really? Yeah, you look like Oz.
Yeah, that's right. The great and powerful Oz.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Hey, where's the other two guys in Blue Man Group?
Yeah.
Yeah. John, you did a great job as net control.
Oh, my pleasure. It was a great suggestion, Carl. You guys, it was great. We probably said that long ago just to get people to talk about whatever. The goal is that you don't have to have anything fancy to talk about. It could be just whatever.
Or you don't have to have anything at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Just say, I passed, and you get to know each other.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great idea. And we'll keep doing it this way. I mean, if it's a shorter run, we still have plenty of photos from that I've got parked from Brookline and so forth. So we'll keep moving along this way. But glad you guys glad you guys showed up and gave some great presentations or just talks. It was fun, a lot of fun.
It was a good time. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
You bet, guys.
I know.
Stay cool.
Yeah, me too.
I hope so.
Yeah, it's 76 here. We're dying.
Oh
I'm
man,
75, although I'm further north.
we had like
That's
20,
right.
we had like 20 degrees here. But all right, guys, take care of yourselves. We'll be in
All right.
touch.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.